Get ready for a hilarious adventure with 4 clever farm animals who dream of becoming musicians. Discover how their teamwork leads to a perfect new home in the Bremen Town Musicians.
Once upon a time, there lived a kind old donkey who had worked very hard for many years, carrying heavy corn sacks to the mill. His fur was a soft gray, his ears long and floppy, and his eyes held a gentle wisdom. But as he grew older, his legs felt weaker, and his master started thinking about what to do with him. The clever donkey saw the worried looks and decided it was time for a new adventure. "I will run away to Bremen and become a town musician," he thought with a hopeful bray. He smiled, imagining himself playing sweet melodies, and bravely set off down the winding road. As the donkey trotted along, he soon spotted a large hound lying by the roadside, looking very tired. The golden brown hound had long, shaggy fur, a black nose, and sad, drooping brown eyes, huffing and puffing as if he'd run a marathon. "Why are you panting so much, big fellow?" asked the donkey, his long ears tilting with concern. The hound sighed. "Oh, I'm old and cannot hunt anymore, so my master wanted to get rid of me, and I had to escape." He looked forlorn. "Now, how will I ever make a living?" The kind donkey brightened. "Come with me to Bremen. We can be musicians together. I'll play the lute, and you can beat the kettle drum." The hound's tail gave a hopeful wag, and he eagerly agreed, joining the donkey on their musical quest. Before long, as they continued their journey, they saw a sleek black cat sitting on the path, looking very grumpy indeed, with fur shimmering under the dappled sunlight. Her bright green eyes seemed to hold a hint of sadness. "Now then, old shaver, what's making you look so unhappy?" asked the donkey softly. The cat sighed. "Who can be cheerful when their life is in danger?" She explained that her teeth were worn, so she preferred to sit by the warm fire and nap rather than chase mice, and her mistress wanted to drown her. "I had to run away, but now I don't know where to go," she mewed forlornly. "Go with us to Bremen," offered the donkey, his ears twitching with excitement. "You're excellent at night music. You can be a town musician, too." The cat's green eyes lit up slightly. She purred at the thought and decided to join their growing band. The 3 friends continued their journey with new hope, soon arriving at a bustling farmyard. There, a vibrant rooster with glossy red and green feathers and a bright red comb sat proudly upon the gate, crowing with all his might. His magnificent voice echoed loudly, a joyous sound. "Your crow goes through, and through one," the donkey exclaimed. "What's the matter with such a strong voice?" The cock explained that he was foretelling fine weather, but the housewife, because guests were coming, intended to have him for soup that very night. "So I am crowing at full pitch while I can," he declared, though a tremble ran through his colorful feathers. The donkey, a true leader, quickly suggested, "Redcomb, you must come with us to Bremen. You have a wonderful voice, and together our music will be legendary." With renewed hope and a flap of his wings, the cock agreed to join their musical adventure, and so, all 4 unlikely friends, the kind donkey, the loyal hound, the clever cat, and the proud cock, cheerfully journeyed onward together. They dreamed of Bremen, a city filled with music and new beginnings, their hearts full of shared excitement. However, the road was long, and they couldn't reach the distant city in a single day as the sun began to dip below the horizon. As twilight painted the sky with soft oranges and purples, they came upon a peaceful, green forest, deciding it would be their resting place for the night. The gentle gray donkey and the friendly golden brown hound lay down under the comforting shade of a massive, ancient tree, its leaves rustling gently. The sleek black cat nimbly settled on a lower branch, while the vibrant red and green cock flew right to the very top, where he felt safest among the highest leaves. As the forest became quiet and the stars began to twinkle, the vigilant cock from his high perch looked around before drifting to sleep. His sharp eyes spotted a tiny flickering spark in the far-off darkness. With a confident call, he alerted his companions that there must be a house nearby, as he could see a welcoming light. The donkey, ever practical, said, "If so, we should go on, for the ground here is quite hard for sleeping." The hound, his ears perked up, added eagerly, "And a few bones with some meat would do me a lot of good." So with new energy, they quickly made their way towards the faint glow. As they walked closer, the light grew brighter and larger, until it clearly revealed a cozy, well-lit cottage in the clearing, though they didn't know it belonged to robbers yet. The donkey, being the tallest and strongest, bravely stepped up to the cottage window and carefully peeked inside. "What do you see, my kind friend?" asked the curious cock from his perch on the donkey's back. The donkey's eyes widened with surprise and a little delight. "Oh, my goodness," he whispered excitedly. "I see a table overflowing with delicious good things to eat and drink." He saw roasted birds, fresh bread, and big barrels of juice. "And look, some rough-looking men are sitting all around it, munching and laughing, having the best time." The clever cat purred. "That sounds exactly like what we need right now." The animals, their stomachs rumbling at the sight of the feast, put their heads together to come up with a brilliant plan. They knew they couldn't just walk in, so they needed a clever trick. After much whispering and paw-tapping, they decided to work together to scare the robbers away. The donkey, with the strong legs, would place his front hooves upon the window ledge, like a sturdy ladder. Next, the friendly hound would bravely jump onto the donkey's broad back. Then, the nimble cat would carefully climb onto the hound, her claws gripping gently. Finally, the proud cock would fly right up and perch magnificently upon the cat's head, making a grand, tall stack of friends. With their plan set, the animal friends took their positions, forming a wobbly but determined tower outside the window. At a secret signal, they all began to perform their loudest, most surprising music together. The gentle gray donkey let out a mighty, booming hee-haw that shook the very ground. The friendly golden-brown hound unleashed a chorus of booming barks, sounding like a dozen dogs. The sleek black cat added her shrillest, most spooky meow, and the vibrant red and green cock crowed with all his powerful might, "Cock-a-doodle-doo!" As this horrible, joyful racket exploded, they burst right through the windows, sending glass clattering everywhere in a wonderfully noisy crash. At this sudden, terrifying din, the robbers jumped up so fast, thinking it must be a ghost or a monster. They screamed and fled in a great fright, tripping over each other as they vanished into the dark, shadowy forest. The four brave companions, now all smiles and feeling very proud, relaxed at the big wooden table, looking at the feast. They immediately sat down, well content with all the delicious food left behind, and ate as if they hadn't had a good meal for a month. Once their bellies were full and the last crumb was gone, the four musicians put out the light, making the room cozy and dark. Each found a perfect sleeping place. The gentle donkey nestled in some soft straw in the yard, the loyal hound curled up behind the door, the clever cat snuggled by the warm ashes of the hearth, and the proud cock perched high on a roof beam. Tired from their long day and exciting adventure, they quickly fell into a deep, peaceful sleep. Much later, when the moon was high in the sky and all was quiet, the sneaky robbers, hidden in the forest, noticed that the light in their house was no longer burning. "We shouldn't have been scared away so easily," grumbled the robber captain, a gruff man with a big hat and a long beard. He ordered one of his bravest, or perhaps most foolish men, to go back and check if the coast was clear. The messenger robber, a scruffy fellow with a patchy beard, crept cautiously back towards the cottage. Finding everything absolutely still and silent, he tiptoed into the kitchen, determined to light a candle and see what had happened. The messenger robber fumbled for a candle in the dark kitchen. He reached for a lucifer match, ready to strike it. Then he spotted what he thought were sparkling, live coals in the hearth. They were actually the sleek black cat's glowing green eyes, shining brightly in the darkness. The silly robber, misunderstanding entirely, tried to light his match from the cat's sparkling eyes. But the clever cat certainly didn't think it was a joke. She sprang right into his face, spitting and scratching with all her might, a furry blur of playful defense. The poor robber screamed in shock and agony as the coals attacked him. Terrified, the robber spun around and dashed towards the back door to escape the witch's fury. But waiting patiently behind that door was the friendly golden-brown hound. He sprang up with a playful bark and bit the robber's leg, wagging his tail playfully while still being effective. The robber howled and stumbled into the yard, trying to get away as fast as his legs would carry him. Just as he ran past the big straw heap, the gentle gray donkey was ready. He gave the fleeing robber a smart, precise kick with his hind foot, sending him tumbling head over heels with a comical oof. The robber felt as if the very ground was alive. Meanwhile, the vibrant red and green cock high on his beam had been woken by all the noise and had become quite lively. As the robber lay momentarily stunned on the ground, the cock seized his chance. He leaned down and cried out from the beam at the top of his voice, "Cock-a-doodle-doo!" His loud, clear call echoed through the night. The poor robber, now completely convinced the house was haunted by magical creatures and an angry judge, scrambled to his feet. He ran back into the forest as if a giant monster was chasing him, his heart pounding like a drum, never looking back. His escape was a comical blur of speed and terror. The robber burst through the trees, panting and trembling, finally reaching his waiting captain. "Captain!" he exclaimed, his eyes wide as saucers, his face scratched and leg throbbing slightly. "It's horrible! There's a wicked witch in the kitchen who spat on me and clawed my face with her long, sharp nails." He pointed to his face dramatically. "And by the door," he continued, glancing nervously around, "stands a tall man with a giant knife who stabbed me in the leg." He then swore, "And in the yard, there's a huge black monster who beat me with a wooden club." He shuddered, then cried, "And above it all, on the roof, sits the judge himself, who shouted, 'Bring the rogue here to me.'" The captain, a burlier man with a skeptical look, listened to this outrageous, exaggerated tale. "So I ran away as fast as I could," the robber finished, dramatically collapsing. After hearing such a wild and scary story, the robbers never dared to return to their house again, convinced it was truly haunted. And so, the lovely cottage became the perfect home for the four musicians of Bremen. The gentle gray donkey, the friendly golden-brown hound, the sleek black cat, and the vibrant red and green cock, all found comfort and joy together. They lived happily ever after, making music and sharing adventures. This story teaches us that even when things seem hopeless, great friendships and teamwork can help you find a new purpose. It shows that everyone, no matter how old or small, has something special to contribute when they work together. And best of all, they made a wonderful home of their own.
Ever dreamed of being the hero? Now you get to be the star. Your adventure starts at TalesMio. Visit talesmio.com now.